We remember JFK Jr.'s remarkable life and untimely death. We welcome Christopher Anderson back to Eyewitness News to talk about his latest book, The Good Son, which explores the unique connection between mother and son. Christopher, good morning. It's a pleasure to have you back on the show here.
Hi, Rob. Great to be back.
It's tragic when I think back to John F. Kennedy, especially being from the Cape Cod area. I can remember that July day in 1999 when his plane went down. Did John F. Kennedy Jr. have any political ambitions?
Absolutely, and it took him a long time to get around to it. I think he said, I think one of the greatest lines he ever came up with was, people keep telling me I can be a great man. I'd rather be a good one. He spent his whole life really trying to deserve a political life and experience what other people experience. So finally, sadly, at the very end of his life, he had made the decision. He had his marriage in order, everything was fine. He was going to start a family, by the way. He'd even picked out a name for the first child that he would have. He wanted to call the child Flynn because it worked for both a boy and a girl. But he was going to run for the Senate. He's going to run for the New York Senate seat, being vacated by Daniel Patrick Moynihan. Hillary Clinton wanted that seat. It was the seat that was to launch her career, but she was very afraid that John would throw his hat in the ring at the last minute, and indeed that's exactly what he planned to do. And he told his best friend, I've lived here all my life, New York. She's a carpetbagger. She's never spent any time here. So wait till Hillary gets here. She'll have her head handed to her. I mean, he was going to play hardball.
That's interesting
because
because
I think the political landscape, it would be different.
Yeah, that's remarkable. I didn't realize that he actually had plans in motion to run for that Senate seat, and it's interesting because the Kennedys and Clintons were very close. Let's talk a little bit about what happened in July there. Now, he was running George magazine, his political magazine that sort of blended Hollywood and politics, and similar to a Vanity Fair with a political, sort of coming from a political angle. But he went and took off from an airport. He was about an hour late taking off, and about an hour later, tragically, he, his wife, and his wife's sister died right outside of Martha's Vineyard.
Astounding that they died within sight of Jackie's estate on Martha's Vineyard. The wreckage from the crash washed up on the beach there. Tragic. And I think everybody remembers where they were when they heard the news.
Right.
Just like Diana's death 2 years before. Equally astounding is that it happened 15 years ago, and John would have been 54 this coming November, which is hard to imagine. So I thought it was the right time to really talk about that mother-son relationship.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that it's been so long now, too. You mentioned Princess Diana. Now, Jackie wielded a lot of influence over John F. Kennedy Jr.'s affairs with public figures, Madonna, Sarah Jessica Parker, Daryl Hannah. Did he ever have an affair with Princess Diana?
He that we're not... I would say that they admired each other tremendously. They didn't know each other. They didn't have an affair, but I think that she was, he talked about how beguiling she was, that the upward cast of her remarkable blue eyes is the way he described them. But, she admired the way Jackie raised John. And she said that she hoped that William would, be able to handle the press and the pressure as well as John had been handling it up until that point. And she said this just a few days before she died. So all of these coincidences are remarkably odd and eerie. Jackie also, I have to say, had a premonition, a nightmare that John was going to die at the controls of his own plane. So she made him promise during her lifetime that he not get his pilot's license. He did everything else. He was a daredevil. He liked to play chicken in his kayak with the Staten Island Ferry, among other things. And that was okay with her. She liked his adventurous spirit. But she didn't want him flying a plane, and so he didn't until after she died. And
I think if I were part of the Kennedy family, I'd probably stay out of planes. Joe, Kick, Ethel's parents, and Teddy almost passed away in a plane in 1964 heading back to Massachusetts to accept the nomination. Was JFK Jr., who, like you said, was constantly in motion, was he a fatalist like his father? Why did he take all these extreme risks?
I don't think he was a fatalist. I think that somehow he was being protected, by unseen forces. I don't think he thought ill would ever come to him. So there's a little hubris at work here. But a lot of this had to do with the fact that he had to constantly be in motion. He was a man in motion. He was, we remember him rollerblading through the streets of New York and kayaking and swimming and working out. All of his friends said, "Why are you doing this constantly?" And he said, "Look, I'm afraid if I stop and think of everything that's happened to my family, of everything that's expected of me, I'll just sit down and fall apart.
Right.
So I've got to keep moving."
Christopher, we are tight on time. There are a lot of questions about the status of his marriage with Caroline Bessette at the time of that crash. I guess we'll never know. But final question, in your opinion, would JFK Jr. have ever run for the presidency?
I think he would have, and I think Jackie expected him to. She said, one of the notes she left for him at the time of her death was, you especially have a place in history. And I think she always felt that. But the important thing to her was first that he be the kind of man of character, and that he, in fact, I think, became. Once again, if you ever met him, you realize that he was not like any other Kennedy. He was extremely grounded and just a regular, don't want to sound trite or cliche, but just a nice guy. And that was because of his mom.
Okay, guys, we are over here on unz.com, and we're over here on an article that is called "The Broken Presidential Destiny of JFK Jr." And this is a very, very, very long article, guys. It was published in February of 2019, on the 11th of February. And the video that you just watched is part of this article. And the link to that video will be down in the show more. Very good video, very good interview. A lot of insight in that video, guys. You need to go back and you need to re-watch that and re-listen to it. Go to the actual YouTube channel, watch it again, and take notes. It's very good information in there. Now, I'm not going to read this whole article. We would be here for a very long time, but I will have the link in the show more, and I do suggest that you go read the whole thing, literally. Very good information in it. But we'll go down here and I'm going to read some of the stuff that it has to say that I find is important. And but I'm telling you right now, the entirety of this article is very important. And I want to read starting right here. It says that first of all, let's read right here. John radioed the control tower for landing instructions, giving no sign of difficulty. No signs of difficulty. At 9:41 p.m., witnesses heard and saw an explosion in the sky. Okay, now this is not information that we got from Mockingbird Media, from the liars, the deceivers, the hybrids, the children of Cain, the children of the father of lies and deceptions. Okay, this information never came across the media. But witnesses heard and saw an explosion in the sky. At the precise moment when John's plane suddenly plummeted into the ocean at the radar recorded speed of 4,700 feet per minute. The next day, pieces of luggages from the plane were found floating nearly 2 miles away from the point of last radar contact. When you go down here, it says the search and recovery operations were conducted by the Air Force and the Navy under national security conditions, with news reporting controlled from the Pentagon. So the Pentagon was the one doing the news. It was controlling it. We already know that from the other videos that I've given you. And the interesting part is that nowhere in this does it talk about the Coast Guard. Okay, remember the whole media talk was about the Coast Guard and what the Coast Guard is doing, and then eventually the Pentagon takes control of the narrative. So I just want you to pick that up, and then we're going to come on down a little bit here. And then it says that many facts and testimonies inconsistent with that story have been concealed, while some convenient ones seem to have been fabricated. Independent investigators have found enough omissions and contradictions in the official and mainstream narrative to ask the question, was JFK Jr. in fact assassinated? Was he killed by the same cabal that had killed his father 36 years earlier, and for the same motive as his Uncle Bobby 5 years later? His plans to conquer the White House and bring his father's murderers to justice. And then it goes down here to talk about this is going to be a two-part article, and in this first article, there's two things that need to be established. At age 39, John had made up his mind to launch his political career by seeking an electoral mandate in New York State, and he was about to announce it publicly. He had also expressed to his friends his ambition to ultimately reach for the presidency. Given his personality and his popularity, he had high chances to make it in less than 20 years. He might realistically have become U.S. President in 2008 or 2016. The second thing, number 2, brought up in the worship of his father, John had taken a keen interest in conspiracy theories. Okay? Remember, the term conspiracy theory was created by the CIA. The CIA is the one that came in here and under not probable cause, but in order to sway the minds of men. Now remember, guys, when you're dealing with these three-letter agencies and the children of Cain, you're dealing with people that lie, deceive, manipulate. They create illusions. They twist things. They control your mind. Remember the white hat movie, The Matrix? All of the Matrices. One of the things that Morpheus explains is that everybody is in a prison, and that this prison is a prison of the mind. So they control the thoughts in man's heads. In other words, they create this narrative. See, what you have to understand is that the world as a whole is a stage, and there's actors that play on this stage, okay? And everyone has a role. Everybody, you have a role, okay? But everyone has a role, and they're actors on a stage. What's happened is that the enemy has come in, has taken over the stage, and has come in, and they create the news, they create the songs for the popular people that want to sing and that kind of thing. The people that have sold their soul, literally. Understand these things, people. This is important stuff that I'm fixing to get into right here. Your musicians, your singers, whatever you want to call them, these people that do our music today, literally take with their own blood and they sign their name, selling their soul to the devil. Now these are people, a lot of these people, for example, Beyonce, she worshipped the one true God. She was literally a child of God, like you and I and everyone else that has the pure bloodline all the way back to Adam. But she literally sold her soul to the devil, and now is a child of Satan, or say of the devil. If you don't believe me on these things, guys, I don't ask you to believe me. I'm saying if you don't believe me, get on online and do some research on the matter, and you decide for yourself what is the truth here. When these stars, okay, American Idol, what does the scriptures tell you? No idols. There's only one God, and you serve that one God alone. Why? Because if you start serving these idols, you yourself are going to fall into temptation. You're going to end up trying to sell your soul. You're going to end up going and working for the enemy, and you're going to end up screwing up your life, because you're under a deception of the lies and deceptions that the children of Cain have made for us all. So when we talk about the stars, in most cases, you are talking about demons. Most of these actors and most of these musicians and so forth and so on, flat out, straight up, tell you that when they go on stage, it's no longer them. They ask for help from a demon, and the demon is the one that's doing the singing. That's why they're supernatural in their abilities and their when they're done singing, people are literally moved. Why? Because they received the Spirit. Okay? When they look, Lucifer was in charge of worship. Guys, that's what he was in charge of, worshiping. Okay? So he understands music, he understands frequencies, he understands vibration, he understands how all these things work. And so they put these stars, these demons in your face, And the end game of all this is that you are worshiping the devil. See, they control all these things, guys. But let's get back to this article. His knowledge deepened. Okay, so conspiracy theories about his death, at least since his late teens. His knowledge deepened in his 30s, made him aware of state and media cover-ups, okay? State and media cover-ups in other affairs, and motivated him to publish 8 months before his death a cover article by Oliver Stone, director of the groundbreaking film JFK, titled Our Counterfeit History. Now, I have told you guys time and time again in my videos, you have got to get to the truth of our real history. Not the history you've been taught and told and all these things by the children of Cain, but the absolute truth, the real history of what's gone on. And it says down here that John's quest for the truth about President Kennedy's assassination cannot be separated from his political ambition to reclaim the White House, any more than it could be in the case of his uncle Bobby, who, as David Talbot has shown, Brothers, The Hidden History of the Kennedy Years, Simon and Schuster, 2007, was planning to reopen the investigation on the Dallas coup as he was campaigning for the presidency in 1968. These are two sides of the same destiny. The heir and the avenger, the heir and the avenger, the heir and the avenger are one and the same person. Therefore, the deep power network that had decided to eliminate Bobby on the threshold of the White House had every reason to make the same decision about John Jr. Over here it says that John Jr. was literally born with the Kennedy presidency, precisely 17 days after his dad won the election. From the minute he came into this world, this is John Jr., he had been in the national spotlight. As Americans watched him grow up in the White House, they developed a strong affection for him, which did not displease his father. And then it goes on to talk about Jackie didn't want pictures of him, but when Jackie was away, the president would allow the media to come in and get pictures of him. Okay, now down here, this is where basically your Prince of Camelot comes in, guys, because it's talking about that an iconic image encapsulated a nation's grief and imprisoned on millions of Americans the dream of seeing him reclaim the Oval Office one day. For in the American collective psyche, understand, guys, they worked with the psyche. I'm talking about the deep state, the cabal, the children of Cain, the enemy. Okay, your brothers and your sisters, your fellow YouTubers, your fellow Twitters, and so forth and so on, are not your enemy. Stop fighting them. Stop arguing with them. And when they argue with you, don't argue back. You understand? That's what the deep state wants. They deal with your psyche, with your mind. They imprison you in your mind, guys, and then they control you and try to divide you and conquer you with using your mind. Okay, so collective psyche. The Kennedys represented royalty, and JFK Jr. was the legitimate heir to the throne. He was, wrote the New York Daily News, the day after his death, the charismatic crown prince of America's royal family. He was the closest thing we had to a crown prince, says Chris Cuomo in I Am JFK Jr. And by the way, if you haven't seen that video, I Am JFK Jr., excellent video, guys. You really should watch it. And then it talks about not buying the media in order to, it says the Kennedys didn't attain the royal status by just buying media coverage. It says that Joe Kennedy believed that in each generation a few powerful men were the rightful leaders of their generation. He thought he and his sons were part of this natural aristocracy. Joseph P. Kennedy created one great thing in his life, and that was his family. With acumen as great as his wealth and limitless purpose, he built a family of sons who sought to reach the peak of American political life. Joe knew that he had achieved so much in America because of the liberty and opportunities. He believed that sons of privilege and wealth had an obligation to serve their country and to return something of the bounty that they had inherited. Joe taught that blood ruled and that they must trust each other and venture out into a dangerous world full of betrayals and uncertainty, always returning to the sanctuary of family. His sons took on part of Joe's psychological makeup, the sense of lives without boundaries and ambitions without restrictions, and understand that the deep state, their entire agenda is to destroy the family unit. The family unit is the core unit. You destroy the family unit, you destroy it all. See, they work their way down from the top levels of government to the states, and from the states to the counties, and from the counties to the cities, and from the cities to the families. And that's where they're working at right now, is to destroy the families, to divide the families up. The battle, the war that you are in, guys, is extremely real. Okay? In reality, you don't have the luxury to sit here and debate whether the battle is real or not. You don't. You need to pick your side, and you need to stand firm who you are and what you're about. This is a battle about good versus evil. It has nothing to do with race, color, religion, what nation you're from, any of that. This is a battle that goes back to the book of Genesis and culminates in the book of Revelations, and culminates in our time. The sons of Camelot, okay? The fate of an American destiny. Now, remember that John was 3 years old when he's sitting there saluting his daddy's casket. Now, that to me, that brings up emotion, deep emotions, guys. I mean, just very deep. But 3 years old saluting his father. And what it says here in this quote is that Jackie made sure that John was constantly exposed to the people who knew John, that is President Kennedy, best. From longtime pals like Red Fay, Chuck Spaulding, Oleg Cassini, Bill Walton, and his ubiquitous sidekick Dave Powers, to such new frontier stalwarts as Pierre Salinger, Theodore Sorensen, and author I don't know how you say it, Schlesinger. These were the folks who knew Jack. Okay, remember, Jack is President Kennedy's nickname, guys. Who knew Jack well and the things Jack liked to do. So as long as they were around, she reasoned, each day John will be getting to know his father. So John Kennedy Jr. got to know his father by and through his mother Jackie, causing Junior to be around people that knew his father passionately and knew him extremely well, and wasn't allowing the media lies and deception and stuff like that to infiltrate John so that he could get to know his father in truth. And then in here it talks about his irresistible yearning of flying, always waiting on his daddy to come back. John gave his first private plane the registration number N529JK. Again, the date of John Kennedy Sr.'s birthday, 5/29, and then JK being John Kennedy, as reference to his father's May 29th birthday. We've been through this in our other videos on the channel. Just go back to the video section of my channel and you'll be able to find that information. And then I'm gonna read some of these quotes here. Committed to the legacy of his compelling father, there was never any question about whether John F. Kennedy Jr. was heading, where John F. Kennedy Jr. was heading. Is there any doubt about the fact that it was only a matter of time before he claimed his father's legacy? Anybody who claims that we will never really know does not know anything about John F. Kennedy Jr. Okay? Remember, he was going for the presidency. Remember, he said if he will avenge his father, even if it means taking down the government. Okay? This is not a game. The battle is very real, guys. It says, I took John Jr. to meet alone with me for several hours. I was telling him that his speech showed strongly that he should start thinking about going into politics. He said he was interested, but he was still too young. He told me that he had an idea that he should go into politics in the next century. And then in an interview, a film in I Am JFK Jr., it says that Jackie, quote, knew in her heart that someday the stars are going to line up and he's going to be president. Now, the stars, remember, stars are angels. And the stars that you see on TV are demons, okay? They're still angels. They're the fallen angels. Okay, so stars are angels, guys. You've got to understand this concept. Okay, it says, my mom sort of pressured me to get into politics, John told Lloyd Howard in 1997. She expected me to follow in my father's footsteps, and of course, I will. But I don't think the time is right just yet. Okay, so it's a future event. Okay, and then we're going to learn about the magazine here. And it says, his longtime friend Robert Little wrote, in the Men We Became, My Friendship with John F. Kennedy Jr., St. Martin's Press, 2004, George was also an opportunity for John to build a platform from which he might possibly move into political life. After all, his father had also pursued a career in journalism before entering politics. George was also a means for John to interact with political actors and thinkers. Again, guys, the world is a stage. You are watching a movie. It is scripted. Okay? Go back to your cue post so that you can gain some understanding there. And again, guys, I am skipping through this article, and I would suggest to you that you come read the entirety of this article. Okay, now John's plans in 1999. So in 1999, at age 39, John was trying to sell his magazine. Understand this, guys. He was trying to sell his magazine. Why would he be trying to sell his magazine if he ain't planning something? But consider all this. John was trying to sell his magazine. He had new plans, according to Gary Ginsberg, a close collaborator who was with John the night before he died. The last night, he was very focused on two things: finding a buyer for George and his political future. So, he was, just prior to his death, he was trying to sell his magazine, and he was beginning to focus on his political future. Okay? Understand that, guys. July 1999, his decision was made. His closest friends have testified, that he was preparing to enter an election contest. Pierre Selinger, who knew him well, declared on French radio Europe 1 on July 19, 1999, I felt that in the coming year, John Jr. would also become a politician. It's my point of view, and with other people, we thought he was going to be a Democratic candidate for the next presidential election. Okay, and I want to read this quote right here because it ties back to Trump. He said, well, Rosie, how many mayors do you know that become president? I was so shocked that I didn't say anything. Then he smirked, as if to say, that's not the road you go down. We'll see what happens. Now that's what Trump says consistently. We'll see what happens. You know, the reporter asks him a question and he'll say something and then he'll say, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Another quote here is that I think he would have run for president. I thought he would have run in 2008. I had dinner with a friend from George last night who thought, for some reason, he would have waited for 2016. He would have been 56 years old. According to Gary Ginsberg, JFK Jr.'s close collaborator at George, here's a quote. He had been thinking about running for New York Senate seat. He even had meetings about it that spring. But by July, had concluded he would focus his attention on running for governor of New York in 2003. But by temperament and interest, John, I think, realized he was far more suited to being a governor than a legislator. He knew from running George that he could be an inspiring, strong chief executive of a state, setting the tone for government and successfully running a complex operation. What is Q? Q is a complex operation. There's so many levels to Q that it's unbelievable. It's almost like Scripture. There's so many levels to Scripture that it's unbelievable. It says that the idea became very appealing to him at some point that summer. Had the stars aligned over the next couple of years, I'm pretty convinced that that's what he would have pursued. Okay? The stars. Now, again, he's talking about the angels here. Don't take the terms wrong, guys. The alignment of the stars is the alignment of the angels to enable him to take his position on the world stage, an actor. And then right here it says a private poll in 1997 found that John F. Kennedy Jr. was by far the state's most popular Democrat, demon rat. That's what they are nowadays, but Democrat. Understand that both JFK Jr. and Trump both were Democrats at one time, guys, before everything switched up. Okay, it's okay that they were Democrats. Don't take that as a problem. It's not a problem. They switched to the Republican Party, and understand there is neither a Republican Party nor a Democratic Party. It's all a show. It's all a movie, guys. There is no two parties at all, guys, at all. You're going to find out that a lot of these Republicans are also part of the children of Cain as time goes forward. And understand this, guys. Look, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here short. I mean, look right here, guys. This is how far down the article I've gotten. Okay, here's the top. Right here. Here you can see the bottom of the arrow. And this is as far as we've gotten in this article. This article is massive, and there is a lot of information. And as I've said, you need to go in here, and you need to read the entirety of this article. This is the clip that you watched at the beginning of my video here. And I'll have the link to this exact video, the actual video on YouTube, in the show more down below the video, and the link to this article will be in the video. But I need you guys to understand something. What's going on today is the takedown of a hybrid race. They look exactly like you and me, and if you're just looking at them, you cannot tell that they're any different than you in any way, form, or fashion. But these guys think they are superior to mankind, because they are half human and half angel. Okay? They descend down from Satan, whereas you descend down from Adam. They descend down from Cain, you descend down from Seth. Okay? Cain and Abel. Cain murders Abel. The first murder in all of Scripture, in all of known history, as far as Scriptures, the first murder was Cain murdering his brother Abel. Where did this murdering mentality come from? Well, sin was with him, because his father, the devil, started a seed inside of Eve and bore twins, paternal twins. So in one menstrual cycle, two inputs were put in. One from the devil and one from Adam, and two were born. That's why it says, and again she bore Abel. She bore Cain, and then she bore Abel. Again bore Abel. It doesn't say that she knew Adam again and bore Abel. It just says, and again bore Abel, because in the same situation, the same time, two people were born, two different seed lines, and that's why the curse came. And when the curse was given, let's look at that curse. Okay, we're going to start right here with the blame game. And the Lord, that is Jesus, it's Jesus, guys, that's talking here. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the same was God. The same was in the beginning with God. Okay? In the beginning was the Word. This Word becomes flesh and dwells among men. That's Jesus Christ. That Word was in the beginning. Okay? So here in the beginning it says, and he, that is Jesus, said, who told you that you are naked? Have you eaten of the tree which wherefore I have commanded you not, that you should not eat, that you shouldn't eat of? And the man said, the woman, that woman whom you gave me to be with me, yes, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Okay, so and then the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that you have done? And the woman said, well, it was the serpent. The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, because you have done this, you art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shall you go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life. Now understand this curse. These people worship the devil. They worship Lucifer. Okay? Point blank, that's who they worship. And understand they are worshiping today a worm. That's right. A worm. It says, because you have done this, this is the curse that the serpent receives. Because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Okay? He said, upon your belly shall you go. So he lost his arms, he lost his feet. And upon his belly he went. He is a worm now. And that's who they worship. And you have been given power over the worm. Understand this, guys. You got to get to an understanding, a place of understanding. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, between the serpent lineage and God's lineage, Father's lineage, and between your seed, that is the serpent's seed, and her seed. So as time goes down through history to current day, this seed line, where did it come from? How did in the world did the enemy get a seed if something didn't occur in the garden? Why is this curse, this enmity between the woman and the serpent? Now, it says that, we'll go on here. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. So her curse has to do with producing children. Why is her cursed about producing children? And why is it that when they sinned, they covered their private parts? Because wherever the guilt is, that's what you cover, and they covered their private parts. But here it says that her curse, the woman's curse, who is the original sin, remember, she gave to Adam, and Adam ate and participated in this sin. Okay? Adam's involved in this sin too, guys, because he did participate. He ate of the fruit just like Eve did. Understand this, guys. This is important stuff and hard to grasp. But under the woman, her curse is in childbearing. So the curse comes on her in childbearing. And unto Adam, he has to go and he has to eat, work the ground. And it says, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife, and hast eaten of the tree, of which I commanded you, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, curses the ground for your sake. In sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. Okay, which most people are not eating the herb of the field, but you should be eating the herb of the field for your health. In the sweat of thy face shall you eat bread, until you return unto the ground, for out of it was you taken. For dust you are, and dust you shall return. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Of all living, because she is the mother of all living. How did the serpent get a seed into the earth? Eve is the mother of all living, guys. Understand this. What I want to do here as I end this video is I want you guys to understand something that's very, very, very important. When you go through your scriptures and you read and you see what Father has done, or Jesus Christ has done throughout the history of earth, okay, and I'm not talking about the earth prior to Adam and Eve when the angels were on the earth and all the other ages of the earth. Remember in Genesis 1 it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and then in the very next verse all of a sudden the earth is chaotic. Something happened there, and where did the water come from that the Spirit was hovering over? Okay, what you're reading in Genesis 1 verse 2 is the recreation after the cataclysmic events that took place in the previous age of the earth, in which all that was left was darkness and water. Okay, so that's what you're looking at there. And just right there between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2, there's something going on there where the Father has to recreate the earth. Actually, Jesus Christ, because all things were created through Jesus Christ, the Word. But all throughout history, you see him doing a new thing. Over and over again, people get complacent, the children of God get taken over by the enemy, and then the Father does a new thing. A new thing. Over and over again you see this. You see it in Egypt when the children of God were, of Israel were taken captive and enslaved into Egypt. You see it when they were in Babylon. You see it over and over again that he starts a new thing. And every time he starts this new thing, the first thing he has to do is get the old thing out of the people's head. Why? Because you're in a prison of your mind. You have been controlled. You have been manipulated. You have been lied to. You have been deceived. Okay? What's coming is a new thing. He is going to do a new thing. And this new thing you've never seen before. So what you're expecting in your mind is that, okay, all this is going to get, the Cain seed line is going to be taken down, eliminated from the earth, and then we're going to go back to the way it was before we got taken over. No, we're not. This is a new thing, and you have to get Egypt out of your head. You have to get Babylon, or Mystery Babylon, out of your head. We're not going back to how it used to be. We are going to make America great again, but in a new way. People's minds are literally going to be blown away as they see this quantum financial system come into place. People are going to be blown away as they see dramatic changes taking place in front of their eyes. They're going to be blown away as they come to the realization of what has been going on under their noses. They're going to be blown away when the income tax is removed. They're going to be blown away. What I'm trying to tell you guys is we're not going to go back to how it once was. It is a new thing. And we are going to fix this thing once and for all, for where this can never, ever happen again, and then go across the earth fixing all the different nations. The people rising up to fix their own nations. Guys, you're talking about a new thing, and you've got to prepare your mind for what's coming, because it's not like anything you've ever seen or known in your life. And you've got to get the old out, and you got to get the truth, and you got to get ready for what he's doing now, which is a new thing. So guys, I hope this in some way has helped you out. I suggest you read the entirety of that article. There is very important information in that article that points to the fact that JFK Jr. is still alive today. I just don't have time to go through that article. I showed you how far into that article we were, and if I were to go through it, you're talking probably a 4 to 5 hour video, because there's so much important information in that video. So guys, I hope somehow this has helped you in some way, in some form, in some fashion, and I'll be talking to you guys later. But get in the Word, stay in the Word, and get the Word in you. Remember, in the beginning was a Word was with God, the same. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the same was in the beginning with God, and that Word becomes flesh. And it is the Word that you need to get in you. That is, you need to get Christ in you. You need to get the Spirit of God in you. That's why I say it is the most critically important thing that you can possibly do. You cannot travel and walk the terrain without having the compass or the map, which is the Word. The Word is what allows you to see through the lies and the deceptions and the works of the enemy. We're told that we're about let's look at something real quick and then we'll end the video. Over here, 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verses 10 through 12, King James Version. To whom you forgive anything, I forgive also. For if I forgave anything, to whom I forgave it, for your sakes forgive I it in the person of Christ, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Furthermore, when I came to Taurus to preach Christ's gospel, and a door was opened unto me of the Lord, so forth, so on. But you are not to be ignorant of Satan's devices, how he operates, how your enemy is functioning in the world today. Once you grasp that your enemy and you understand him, you can see everything he's doing. your eyes just, like the scales just fall right off, and you can see everything. Once you understand that you have an enemy, the enemy's real, the enemy has been at battle with you from the day you were born, and you don't even know it, that you've been programmed by the enemy, and he's taken over your mind, and he controls every thought and everything you do. And the problem is that when the truth comes to you, your beliefs that were fed to you by your enemy in your mind come up and attack the truth, because it's against your belief, and you defend your enemy, the belief that you have. And it's rooted in absolutely no truth, no facts, no evidence. Like gravity. Everyone believes in gravity. There is no gravity. There is only buoyancy. People believe in outer space. There is no outer space. There is a firmament in the way, and from one end of the firmament to the other end of the firmament, okay, you got the earth that you walk on, you've got the atmosphere, and above the atmosphere is the firmament, the start of the firmament, the first layer of the firmament. You got to look at a rainbow. There's 2 layers to a rainbow. You get a double rainbow. Okay, the bottom layer is the firmament, the bottom of the firmament, what's closest to us. Then there is water all the way to the other edge of the firmament, the top part of the firmament, and then that's what space is. If there is a space is water. Just like they show you in the commercial when they break through the glass firmament. It's all water, right? They give you the truth right in front of your face, guys. They do this all the time. And then above that is the throne of God, the throne of the Father, where Jesus Christ is sitting at the right hand of the Father. So you have to come out of your programming. You have to do it. If you don't, it's your issue. It's nobody else's issue. It's your issue, because you didn't research it out. You didn't get to the truth. You didn't get to the bottom of it. So he said there is no excuse. Over here in Thessalonians chapter 2, you can read all this. It talks about be not soon shaken, that don't be deceived by any means, that they shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember you not that when I was with you, yet with you, I told you these things? And now you know that what withholdeth, and now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. And then shall the wicked be revealed. Okay? And then shall the wicked be revealed. What's happening today, guys? The wicked are being revealed. The truth is coming out. Whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, with his spirit of his mouth, by words, by truth, by light shining into darkness, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. Okay, lying wonders, the space program that they always are showing you, which is nothing but a Hollywood movie. That's all it is, Hollywood. Okay, which is part of the CIA Mockingbird. It's part of the Cain family, the bloodlines, the 13 bloodlines that come down to us throughout all the generations, always in power, always controlling, and using lying wonders. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish. Okay, like I said, the ones that were children of God literally take their blood, sign off, and they sell their soul to the devil, and they are perishing, and they are one of the people doing deceivableness in unrighteousness. And why is it that they are doing it? And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. For this cause God shall send them strong delusion. Okay, Jesus and the Father themselves will send this delusion and make it stronger, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned, who believeth not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Okay, guys, I'm going to get on off here, get in the Word, stay in the Word, get the Word in you, and I'll talk to you guys later.